Have you ever had someone suddenly just vanish from your life after you made a new, empowered choice? And what if that person was actually just a program in your simulation and they were written into your script to test your alignment and to help you break your own conditioning? I'm reminded Dolores Cannon once said that not everyone in your reality is real. And she described some people as backdrop people, or you can think of them as an extra, much like in a movie. And that sounds wild, right? And I never quite understood what she meant by that until I had my own experience. And it got me thinking, what if your soul was directing the scene all along? And here's what happened to me. So I met a stranger at the gym. And, as you do, we got chatting and he started to offer some tips to help me improve my fitness. And, we just had like friendly conversation every now and then. And this, every now and then really was literally a week, a period of just a week. Okay. And it was nothing unusual. And then there was one day where he'd been showing me how to use certain machines. And then he asked for my number. And of course, that might seem harmless, right? Except, I'd already clocked that he was wearing a wedding ring. Now, in the past, the version of me who would have felt awkward and uncomfortable in that type of situation. And, I might have just like kind of giggled and maybe given my number, even if it didn't feel right. It would have been done out of, oh, well, just being nice or just to avoid that feeling of being uncomfortable and not really knowing how to decline. But this time, I didn't shrink. I simply said to him, "Oh, we're just gym buddies," and he kind of persisted a little bit, and I said, I don't give my number to married men. And that was it. Clear, calm, graceful, and in my truth. I it was simple. I didn't have to over explain myself. I just directly shared my truth. And then guess what? I literally never saw him again. Went to the gym the following week and the week after that and the week after that, and he was never there. And then it hit me. I didn't just say no to giving him my number. I actually broke a program. I broke that conditioning, that version of me, the nice girl, the polite girl, didn't want to cause an offense, didn't want to get myself in some kind of awkward conversation. And that's when the program broke. And when we break a program, it doesn't come back, okay? And this is how reality works when we're living awake. The people, the experiences, and offers that matched our old frequency, they just vanish, they disappear from our reality because our field is no longer in resonance with them. And, I think I saw this meme recently and it said it's not personal, it's vibrational. And that's exactly what it is. We attract people, places, and things that we vibrate at the same energetic frequency with. And as soon as we're no longer vibrating at that frequency, we just don't attract those situations anymore. The matrix sends people to us, but only if we're still buying the story. It's like testing our frequency. So that what I've just shared with you, I feel was a real example. The matrix sent that frequency in the form of a man at the gym to test where I was now at, what choice was I going to make in this situation. And, as soon as we make a new empowered choice, then we shift our reality. So it's pretty exciting, right? And maybe, to sit in your own surroundings is another thing that I want to share with you in this video today. And there's a neighbor who walks around my block. I see her quite frequently. She um, I know she told me she had some health issues and so she goes for regular walks, but she just walks the same path every day around and around the block. And her head's always down, either she's gazing at the ground or she's fixated on her phone. And she rarely deviates this path. And she's kind of, rarely really present with her surroundings at all. And, it's like she's stuck in this loop, okay? That same path, the same expression, the same programming running. And, sometimes I see her and I kind of want to say, why not try a different path? Why not go to the park, go for a walk in the park? And, this isn't a judgment, it's really an observation. And it's a reminder of how easy it can be for us to fall into those unconscious patterns. We're repeating the same cycle, the same rhythm. And it's not because it's nourishing us, it's because it's familiar. It's a familiar pattern. And that's really what the matrix relies on, these loops, because, we're in constantly in this looping pattern that keeps the program running. But loops are not really living. It's not life. Life is organic. Life breathes. It has surprises. It happens. Things happen spontaneously. And it really awakens us to really feel what it is like to be alive and living. So, yeah, ponder on this because it really was just like, wow, this is so interesting when it kind of dawned on me. And so this week's resonance note is to ask yourself, throughout the day, noticing what you're agreeing to, noticing your behaviors, and ask, am I still running on autopilot? Is this an automated response that I've just learned? Or am I consciously choosing what I allow into my life, what I speak, and what I really stand for? What is my truth? And do I honor that in any and every situation? Because every time you override your truth to kind of just avoid just feeling uncomfortable, then that program continues, okay? And every time you stay true to yourself, the loop ends and your reality recalibrates. So, you know, not only are your yeses sacred, but your nos are also really, really sacred. Not because it rejects the other person. And, let's go back to the guy at the gym. The way I handled it, he didn't feel rejected, but there was still a comfortable respect. And actually, that's what it was. It was more respect because I had just spoken truth in a kind and calm manner. And in that moment, we're reclaiming our power. We reclaim our energetic field. We reclaim our choice. And we also reclaim our joy. So say no with grace and really start to watch what happens in your reality and what vanishes from your reality. So if this message sparks something in you, if you're curious to find out more, then I invite you to check out my Substack platform where I share regular insights on my journey and what I've been awakening to and reprogramming in my own reality. And it's really all about soul sovereignty, reclaiming our power and presence so that we can act from that sovereign frequency rather than the automated patterns that we've been kind of conditioned throughout early childhood, really, our earlier lives. And I also speak about soul embodiment because we're shifting out of those patterns, those programs, so that we can really live a soulful life from our soul essence. And then we're really navigating our reality as the conscious creator. And you can also work with me, explore some of my deeper offerings on my website. And these are really those where I walk beside those who are ready to reclaim their power, to start to live as their soul. So I'd love if you've got any comments, do drop them below. I'd love to open the dialogue about this because it really was a wow for me and really exciting moment. So remember, your reality responds to your frequency. So what are you choosing today? See you next week.